We're not even into the season, and there's been already three instances of buffs and nerfs before even the season started, and people are like losing their shit over red paladins and stuff like that. Class buffs and nerfs. So we're getting, before even the first raid, we're getting some fat buffs though. In response to data and feedback immediately following the Embers of Neltharion patch, we're planning to make adjustments to several classes. So this is cracking down on all of the disclaimers that we do with our tier lists even more. This tuning includes changes to talent in the live game, and the testing values of several items will soon be available in Season 2. The following will take place during scheduled weekly maintenance in each region, which is mean reset, right? For Havoc, melee auto attack damage increased by 10%. Not even Warrior got this much melee damage. Demon's Bite and Demon Blades also increased by 10%. Each Fell Blade damage 10%, so this is all single target, right? Isolated Prey now increases eye damage by 30% when striking one target, was 25%. Even more single target damage. Isn't this pretty good for Havoc? Also, did we not call it that Havoc is gonna do a lot of eye beam damage in single target? Because I know we got a comment on one of the tiers like, actually, the eye beam doesn't do that much single target damage. And lo and behold, eye beam keeps getting buffed. Vengeance, sheer damage increased by 10%, fracture by 10%, soul carver by 20%. Soul carver is the talent, right? The old artifact ability? Like, I don't know why sheer will still exist in a world where fracture exists, but whatever. Focus Cleave now increases Soul Cleave's damage to your primary target by 40%. Soul Crush now applies frailty to your primary damage for 8 seconds, was 5 seconds. Okay. Single target buffs. Is this also... So this is definitely in anticipation for the raid, right? Alright, Balanced Druid. I'm not even gonna look at what I'm gonna read this. In some single target scenarios, it's still looking optimal to cast Wrath in Lunar Eclipse. That doesn't meet our goal for how Balance should play. Yes, please. So we're reducing Wrath's effectiveness outside Solar Eclipse and increasing its effectiveness inside Solar Eclipse to correct this. We're also boosting Balance's single target damage a small amount. Oh my god, this is what I wanted to see before choosing Warlock as a main, dude. Alright, it's fine. I'm not upset at all. Wrath was casted in Lunar Eclipse probably because of the Wrath generation, but also because it used to give you faster eclipses, right? Wrath Astral Power generation reduced to 8, it was 10. Wrath damage increased by 5%. Solar Eclipse now increases Wrath damage by 40%, was 20. Yo! Soul of the Forest now increases Wrath Astral Power generation while in Solar Eclipse by 60%. Whoa! Oh man, this is really cool. I mean, I love this. I want to see this stuff. Damage dealt by Fairy Dragon summoned by Denizen of the Dream increased. Dude, didn't I call this? Dude, they nerfed this. They nerfed this and they're buffing it again. When they nerfed it, didn't I call it like, yo, why are you cracking down on single target damage? And they're buffing it again. Wow. Friend of the Fae now increases your arcane and nature spell damage by 10. They're buffing Friend of the Fae as well. Good. Balanced Druid definitely needed this. Plus, these are very single target investment talents. They don't do anything in AoE. And you probably will have to sacrifice some big AoE to be able to get these talents anyway. So I think this is good. This is a good trade-off, in my opinion. Feral. Rampant Ferocity now deals 30% of damage dealt by ferocious bites to nearby enemies, was 35. So this is cracking down on the AoE. Open Wounds now deals 50% of rip damage it consumes, was 60%. They're nerfing Feral's AoE. I mean, Feral's AoE is really good and it's very accessible, but I feel like it should have gotten the balance treatment, no? Shouldn't have gotten the balance treatment where it got a little bit of single target too? Restoration, all healing and damage increased by 2%. Oh, Rest of Druids getting buffed. Alright, I don't know if this was needed. I felt like Rest of Druids were one of the winners in terms of tier set, but I might be wrong. So, hey, 2% healing and damage. Paladin, holy, alright. All healing and damage increased by 3%. Okay, Avenging Crusader now transfers 500% of damage done into healing. Was 575. Okay, so they're taking away some power out of Avenging Crusader. And maybe that's why they're doing the overall healing increased by 3% to kind of offset that, which I'm actually for, since Holy Paladin has historically been very strong during its cooldowns and very weak outside. Mistweaver Monk. Essence Font healing increased by 15%. Oh, Essence Font is quite a bit. It's 11%. So 15%, it's about 1 to 2% more overall healing. Roughly, this is like really napkin math. Obviously, this doesn't translate in all scenarios, but this seems like a big portion of the overall healing that Mistweaver can do. So the buff is probably better than what other buffs could be. It's still only 1 to 2% extra healing overall. I don't know if you can build deeper into Essence Font to make this buff matter more, and I don't know if doing that gives you more overall healing. But it doesn't feel like Mistweaver is doing little healing anyway. It's just probably not bringing a lot to the group. Rogue, Subtlety, Dev Notes. Class talents that previously modified all damage from spell schools are in most cases being updated and standardized with other similar effects to no longer affect external damage sources outside of those, okay, that belong to the class. The changes to the below talents impact Subtlety's damage enough to warrant compensation, which is the reason for the buff to all ability damage. Okay. Veil Touch, Deeper Daggers, and Dark Brew no longer affect damage from sources outside of class. I think this is because I'm not 100% sure, but those probably buff shadow damage. And obviously with Shadow Flame damage, there's going to be a lot of shadow damage that people do with the gear in 10.1. Trinkets and weapons and all of that stuff. So it's basically tuned. I mean, it kind of makes sense. And this is something that they've been doing for Spec a lot of the times in the last couple of years. So this is not anything surprising. Without actually knowing the exact numbers, I feel like this is probably just fine. This probably doesn't do really anything for Subtlety. They're just changing the damage output to the class instead of the items, which I am definitely for. But overall, this is looking pretty good for Demon Hunters. Getting some buffs to single target. Like, obviously this looks a lot on paper, but I don't know how much this translates into overall damage. I am at least a proponent for melee specs to do reasonable melee damage with melee attacks and, you know, melee weapons. I think that should still be something that the game has, because it didn't used to be. It kind of came back a little bit in Shadowlands, and it's looking like it's getting addressed more. And definitely probably the biggest changes are for balance, which I love to see. I hope Shadow Priest gets something like this. I don't know if Shadow Priest has received any single target damage buffs that I have missed, but Shadow Priest has been notoriously poor at dealing single target overall. So I love to see stuff like this. I hope they do something similar for Feral, because I'm not impressed by Feral's single target. It could be that the tier set for Feral does give him a lot more single target though. So this is like 4 days before the season releases. And all right, I remember what I was gonna say. A lot of people have pros and cons opinions about all of this tuning, because I felt we read the comments in our YouTube, and people are like, it's a roller coaster. Oh, it's buff and nerf and buff and nerf and buff and nerf. But to give credit where credit is due, this is essentially tuning. This is just adjusting specs performance to kind of co-align with what other people are doing, what other specs are doing, and to kind of probably where the devs would like player power to be at relative to the content that we're doing. So I think this is actually good. We haven't seen big buffs or big nerfs to move meta specs all around too much. Obviously at the 1% level, that's always going to change. And for people who are, you know, let's say cutting edge raider, I want to get Hall of Fame, I want to make sure that I'm playing the absolute best choice possible. Sure, that might suck to see these many buffs and nerfs, because it can shift. Oh my god, now balance might be a better class by 1% than, I don't know, elemental shaman for some reason. Obviously this is just off the top of my head. Sure, I can see that, but to be fair, the majority of players don't play at that level, and the majority of players just want to make sure that their specs are not underperforming. And I think for the majority of players, I think this is good. We're in a good situation where the devs are active with the balance and the tuning of the classes to make it so that we don't go a full season, by the way, remember Shadowlands, a full season with our spec in the gutter, right? So I think this is a much better world to live in. Yay for buffs and nerfs.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.